You may know me as that girl that Lara's always with, and I'm here to propose Lara Hey for chair. Big surprise. Let me start off by saying that I could just read off the manifesto, but that would be pretty boring. I'm sure you're going to hear a bunch of that later, so I'll just describe her in the way that a best friend would. If I had to describe Lara in one word, easily, keen, okay? She has always been excited to be involved in everything college-related. She's attended every JCR meeting this year. She's probably holding the record for most formals attended, and she's an avid host and consumer of tea and toast. Seeing Lara being involved in so many things had shed light on some undeniably great qualities that she has that would suit her for a role as JCR chair. Lara is very approachable. Unless you're a crusty guy creeping up on her in glue, you're fine for conversation with Lara. She's very open, easy to talk to. She was even chosen to be Hatfield Women's Rugby's best social fresh, beating someone like me, even, to the role for being really approachable and easy to talk to. She's also extremely organized, and I knew that without her, our friend group would be absolutely lost. We would have no idea when we're going to dinner, no idea when we're meeting for Greece, and it would be unimaginable. She is not your typical student. She enjoys waking up early, and she can't watch more than like 3 hours of Netflix. So she's really on top of her stuff. I don't really know how. All jokes aside, Lara has been able to manage playing for rugby. She's been on the amazing welfare team as junior campaigns rep. She's worked with the dining hall staff as food rep, and she's getting a good degree, and she's being her usual keen self, all with grace. I'm amazed by everything she does, and I have no doubt that she would be an amazing job, do an amazing job as JCR chair. Please do look at her manifesto. She's amazing.
Thank you, Jackie. All right, so we're going to start on questions with Ollie.
What do you think of the way that the JCR runs its application process for non-exec positions? What changes would you make?
I think at the moment the JCR is very good in sort of giving enough time for applications to be handed in. I think maybe I would change the use of social media. For example, at the moment there's only Facebook used. I think we should sort of announce posts available on Instagram or like Twitter or something. But I also think that the way that the deadline is 12 noon is also very good, and it's always very well advertised, so people always care about when it should happen in.
How would you encourage more people to attend JCR meetings?
I think I would coordinate with the social sec. For example, to maybe combine like an open mic night, make it more of an event. But I also think it's really important that people are aware of what is going to be voted on in the exec meetings, in the JCR meetings, sorry. I know that like there's always the standing orders emailed, but I feel like these can be quite inaccessible, and if people got lots of work to do, they don't want to sit through and read everything. So I think if we just make it clear about like how the decision would affect that person specifically, that would be really good.
What would be your response if someone sent an email 5 days prior to a deadline to say that they had to go home for health reasons, so asking whether they could hand in their application late?
I think if they sent it 5 days prior to the deadline and it was that sort of circumstance, then they were obviously very keen for the position. I feel like they could probably send it in to a friend to get them to print it off. But you have to be fair and treat everyone equally, and I couldn't really make any exceptions, even if it was that sort of circumstance. I'd have to treat everyone the same.
Outline the role of the JCR chair during JCR exec meetings. How would you go about ensuring you do this role effectively?
So the role of the chair in an exec meeting is to sort of run the meeting, make sure everything goes smoothly, and to be impartial. And obviously, if someone's talking for a very long time, not letting anyone else have their say, then I would interrupt and sort of say it's time to give someone else a chance to speak. It just means that everyone's voice gets heard and that everyone gets a chance to speak.
According to the standing orders, what is the procedure about calling JCR meetings and then advertising them to the JCR?
So according to the standing orders, a JCR meeting must be advertised a minimum of 10 days before the meeting is due to be held, and it must be advertised online and in 2 locations around the college, one of which must be visible to learners out, for example, the bar or the plodge.
Alright, and we'll now open questions to the floor. Felicity.
I would disagree with that. I mean, at the moment we already have the policy where you need a soft copy and a hard copy, and I feel like the fact that you have to really submit a hard copy sort of just shows that extra level of commitment and dedication and your willingness to apply for the role. So I would just keep it both ways rather than just online.
Any more questions?
Hello. So one of your jobs as JCR chair would be to ensure that the standing orders are upheld, and that includes kind of holding other exec officers to account to make sure that they're following through their standing orders. If it came to light that for one reason or another a JCR exec member wasn't following their standing orders correctly, how would you go about ensuring that they do and that they're best serving the JCR?
Well, basically what I would do is I would first consult the standing orders to make sure that they were actually doing it right or wrong. And then I would sort of take them aside and talk to them formally and see if they were actually aware that they weren't doing it correctly. And then I would see if there was anything wrong that was bothering them, and if there was, direct them to the appropriate form of contact, for example, welfare. And if the issue continued, I would talk to the senior man or the welfare officer and sort of take it from there and deal with it in a more formal matter.
Any more questions? Dan, any more? I'm following my Dan questions. Excellent.
Okay, so one of the problems of the past few years has been encouraging high turnout at meetings, because obviously we want to make sure that all decisions are including all of the JCR. Have you got like any thoughts about how you might incentivise people to come to JCR meetings?
Well, I think to encourage attendance at JCR meetings, obviously it's really important to get quorum. So I would involve the social set to make them more of an event. Make people aware of how the decisions made at JCR meeting will affect them, so that they're more incentivised to come.
What would you do in an instance where one of the, let's say the senior man who's on your exec is very opinionated in the exec meetings and makes it difficult for you to mediate conversation, or how would you go about resolving that issue?
I think what I would do is I would take them aside outside of the meeting time and just sort of say that whilst they are senior man, it's a very important position, they should give the other members a chance, because after all it's an exec, it's not just the senior man that runs the whole thing. Everyone has a valid opinion, and that they should give everyone else a chance to talk.
Thank you. Felicity.
What do you think of the idea of filming JCR meetings and then having the voting go online, or that just from JCR meetings to vote?
I'll just repeat that for the sake of the tape. So what's your opinion of is it making JCR, for filming JCR meetings and making voting available online?
I think that would be quite a reasonable suggestion, but at the same time, it's always good to have the decision made then and there, and I feel like putting it online and then having everyone vote would be like dragging out the process, and I know that it's always quite difficult to get everyone to vote anyway through, even just to vote for the exec, so I don't know how people would really be willing to vote online. I think it's really kind of good to film the meetings and put them up on, say, the YouTube channel, but I think that would just be for viewing purposes rather than for voting.
Thank you. Any more questions? Excellent. Can I please now ask you, if you'd like, to conclude with, am I doing this right? Yeah. To conclude with a 1 minute of why we should vote for you for chair.
Yes, I won't bore all of you by just repeating my manifesto, but basically, since I've come to Hatfield, I've always been really keen to just get involved in as much things as I can. For example, I'm in the welfare team, or a food rep, and for some reason, before I came there. And I feel like being on the exec is the next step that I'd love to take to really immerse myself in Hatfield life. And if you were to vote for me as your chair, I would promise to be approachable as a great point of contact between the JCR and the exec. And yeah, I have the best interests of Hatfield at heart. And yeah, thank you.